As a student and researcher who has spent a lifetime navigating the profound and intricate cosmological and psychological maps of Buddhist thought, one of the most compelling and enduring doctrines I have encountered is that of the 6 realms of existence. This teaching, often vividly depicted in the complex iconography of the Bhava Chakra, or Wheel of Life, is far more than a simple catalogue of heavens and hells. It is a deep and sophisticated exploration of the nature of consciousness itself. It serves as both a cosmological framework for understanding the process of rebirth, samsara, and, more immediately, as a profound psychological mirror reflecting the kaleidoscopic states of our own minds. To the uninitiated, the 6 realms may appear as a collection of mythical destinations, remnants of ancient Indian folklore absorbed into the Buddhist tradition. But to truly grasp their significance, one must see them not as fixed, external places, but as fluid, experiential domains forged by the power of our own actions, words, and thoughts. They are the living architecture of karma. The rage that consumes us in a moment of anger is the fiery energy of the hell realm. The insatiable craving of addiction is the torment of a hungry ghost. The fleeting bliss of a peak experience is a taste of the Deva world. In this exploration, we will undertake a comprehensive journey through this powerful Buddhist model of reality. We will begin by examining the engine that turns the wheel, the fundamental principles of karma and the 3 poisons. We will then travel through each of the 6 realms, from the agonizing depths of the hells to the ephemeral bliss of the heavens, analyzing the specific karmic causes that lead to rebirth in each, the dominant psychological state that defines them, and the subtle forms of suffering inherent even in the most sublime of them. Finally, we will stand outside the wheel with the Buddha, who points the way to the ultimate goal, not a favorable rebirth within the cycle, but total liberation from the wheel itself. This is a journey not to a distant land, but to the very heart of our own experience. The 6 realms of existence in Buddhism. Part 1. The engine of the wheel, karma and the 3 poisons. Before one can understand the destinations, one must first understand the journey and the vehicle. The entire cyclical journey of samsara, the endless wandering through the 6 realms, is powered by the inexorable law of karma. Often misunderstood in the West as fate or destiny, karma, in Pali, kama, is more accurately understood as the universal law of moral cause and effect. It is the principle that every volitional action, every intentional thought, word, and deed, creates an energetic residue that will ripen into a future experience. As the Buddha stated in the Dhammapada, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. The determining factor in karma is satana, or volition. It is the intention behind the act, not the act itself, that is paramount. Actions are divided into 2 primary categories: akusala kama, unwholesome or unskillful actions, and kusala kama, wholesome or skillful actions. Unwholesome actions are those rooted in negative mental states, which inevitably lead to suffering for oneself and others. Wholesome actions are those rooted in positive mental states, which lead to happiness and well-being. This is not a system of divine reward and punishment administered by an external judge. It is an impersonal, natural law, as fundamental to the moral universe as gravity is to the physical one. Our present circumstances are the fruit of our past karma, and our present actions are the seeds of our future. So, what is the ultimate source of these volitional actions that bind us to the wheel? The Buddha identified 3 root causes. The 3 poisons, trivisa, which are depicted at the very hub of the Bhava Chakra. It is from this central hub that the entire cycle radiates. These 3 are ignorance, moha or avidya, represented by a pig or boar. This is not a lack of factual information, but a fundamental misperception of reality. It is the ignorance of the 4 noble truths, and specifically, the delusion of a permanent, independent, and solid self, or ego, where none actually exists, anatta. This ignorance is the primary poison because it is the fertile ground from which the other 2 grow. The pig, which is said to eat anything and sleep anywhere, symbolizes this undiscerning, deluded state of mind. Greed, attachment, lobha or raga, represented by a rooster or cock, arising from ignorance. The belief in a separate self immediately creates a division between me and the other. This leads to the desire to pull pleasant experiences, objects, and ideas towards this self in order to enhance and protect it. This is attachment, grasping, and craving. Tana, the rooster, a creature known for its strutting pride and lust, perfectly symbolizes this endless wanting. Hatred, aversion, dosa, represented by a snake. Just as we try to pull pleasant experiences toward us, we violently push unpleasant experiences away. When the ego feels threatened or is denied what it wants, the response is aversion, anger, hatred, and aggression. The snake, which strikes out instantly when threatened, is the chosen symbol for this reactive and venomous state of mind. In the Bhava Chakra, these three creatures are often depicted chasing each other in a circle, biting each other's tails. This illustrates that they are mutually reinforcing. Our ignorance of the true nature of things leads us to crave. And when our craving is frustrated, it turns to hatred, which further deepens our delusion and ignorance. This toxic, self-perpetuating engine at the hub of the wheel provides the momentum for all unwholesome karma, turning the wheel ceaselessly and propelling beings through the 6 realms of existence. Part 2. The higher realms, ephemeral heavens and battlefields. The 6 realms are traditionally divided into 2 groups, the 3 higher realms and the 3 lower realms. While the higher realms are characterized by happiness and pleasure, it is a cardinal tenet of Buddhism that they are neither permanent nor perfect, and thus do not represent the final goal of liberation. They are pleasant waystations, not the final destination. The Deva realm, the realm of gods. At the apex of the Bhava Chakra lies the Deva realm, the abode of the gods. This is a domain of immense, long-lasting pleasure, bliss, and subtle consciousness. Rebirth here is the result of powerful wholesome karma, such as profound acts of generosity, dana, steadfast ethical conduct, sila, and the deep states of meditative absorption, jhana. The Devas live for unimaginably long lifespans, enjoying celestial palaces, heavenly music, and lives largely free from the gross forms of suffering that plague the lower realms. The dominant psychological state is one of blissful absorption and, often, a subtle form of spiritual pride, mana. Having attained such a delightful existence through their past merit, they can easily fall into the trap of believing they are eternal or that they have reached the final goal. They are so intoxicated by their own bliss that the thought of practice or striving for something further seems unnecessary. However, the Deva realm contains its own profound and subtle form of suffering. Its primary flaw is its impermanence, anicca. The gods are not immortal. Their stay in the heavens lasts only as long as their powerful good karma sustains them. When that karma is exhausted, they are subject to rebirth, and because they have spent their heavenly lives neglecting to create new wholesome karma, they often fall into one of the lower realms. The greatest suffering for a deva comes at the end of their life. Signs of decay appear. Their bodies lose their radiance, their flower garlands wilt, and their companions abandon them. With their divine sight, they can foresee their next rebirth, often in a state of great misery. The mental anguish of this fall from the pinnacle of pleasure to a state of agony is said to be one of the most intense forms of suffering in all of samsara. The Deva realm, therefore, is the ultimate lesson in the danger of attachment to pleasure and the universal truth of impermanence. The Asura realm, the realm of jealous gods or titans, situated between the human realm and the Deva realm. The realm of the Asuras is a curious and conflicted domain. The Asuras, or jealous gods, possess power, strength, and pleasures similar to those of the Devas. Rebirth here is often the result of actions that are wholesome on the surface but are tainted by a negative underlying motivation, such as giving to others out of a desire to be superior, or practicing ethics with a competitive mindset. The defining psychological state of the Asura realm is intense jealousy, Isa, paranoia, and ambition. The source of their endless conflict is the mythical wish-fulfilling tree, Sintamani, whose roots are in the Asura realm, but whose delicious fruit grows in the Deva realm above. Consumed by envy and a sense of injustice, the Asuras are constantly arming themselves and waging feudal wars against the Devas to reclaim the fruit. They are powerful, but their power brings them no peace. The suffering of this realm is the ceaseless mental torment of jealousy and conflict. They can never enjoy what they have because they are perpetually obsessed with what they lack and with the status of those above them. The Asura realm serves as a powerful metaphor for the aggressive, competitive striving for power and recognition that dominates so much of human life. It is the state of being rich and powerful, yet miserable because someone else is always richer and more powerful. It is the agony of a life defined by comparison and rivalry. Part 3. The lower realms, the depths of suffering. The three lower realms are characterized by overwhelming pain and misery, where the opportunity for spiritual practice is virtually non-existent. Rebirth in these realms is the result of powerful unwholesome actions rooted in the three poisons. The Naraka realm, the hell realm. The lowest and most terrifying of the realms is Naraka, the hell realm. This is a domain of unimaginable pain and torment, the direct karmic fruit of actions driven by intense hatred, anger, cruelty, and aggression. The Buddhist conception of hell, however, differs from the Abrahamic one in two crucial ways. Firstly, it is not eternal. Life in a Naraka realm, though lasting for an incomprehensibly long time, is finite. When the negative karma that caused the rebirth is exhausted, the being is reborn elsewhere. Secondly, there is no external punisher. There is no devil or wrathful God condemning beings to this state. The tortures of hell are a self-created reality, a natural manifestation of the immense negative energy created by one's own hatred. The Naraka realm is typically described as having numerous hot and cold hells, each with specific tortures corresponding to the type of transgression committed. Beings are endlessly crushed, sawn in half, burned, or frozen, only to be revived to experience the agony all over again. The dominant psychological state is one of overwhelming hatred, terror, and unimaginable pain. The suffering is so intense and all-consuming that there is no space for any other thought, let alone for reflection or spiritual practice. It is the state of pure, unmitigated agony. The Preta realm, the realm of hungry ghosts. The Preta realm is the domain of insatiable craving. Beings are reborn here as hungry ghosts, as a result of actions rooted in intense greed, stinginess, and addiction. Pretas are often depicted with huge, distended bellies, representing their enormous desires, but with tiny, pinhole mouths and pencil-thin necks, representing their inability to ever satisfy those desires. They are tormented by a perpetual, gnawing hunger and thirst. Food and water are all around them, but they cannot partake of it. A cool river might turn to fire as they approach, or a piece of fruit might vanish. Even if they manage to get something into their mouths, it is said to turn to coals or filth. The dominant psychological state is obsessive, frustrated craving, tanha. The suffering is not the absence of the objects of desire, but the very presence of those objects combined with the utter inability to enjoy them. The Preta realm is perhaps the most powerful and accurate metaphor for the psychology of addiction ever conceived, the endless, painful cycle of craving, seeking, and the fleeting, unsatisfactory nature of fulfillment that only leads to more craving. The Tiryagyoni realm, the animal realm. The animal realm is the only one of the 6 realms that we can directly observe. Rebirth here is the result of karma rooted in the poison of ignorance, moha, a state of mind characterized by dullness, complacency, and acting purely on instinct without moral reflection. The dominant psychological state is one of ignorance and a lack of self-awareness. While animals can experience pleasure, their existence is largely defined by suffering. They suffer from being hunted and eaten by other animals, from being exploited, slaughtered, and domesticated by humans, and from living in a constant state of fear and struggle for survival. They lack the capacity for complex reasoning and moral choice. The greatest suffering of the animal realm, from a Buddhist perspective, is the profound ignorance that prevents any possibility of understanding the Dharma. Lacking the higher intelligence required to comprehend the nature of their situation and the path to liberation, they are trapped in a cycle of instinctual behavior, creating further karma that keeps them bound to the lower realms. Part 4. The human realm, the precious opportunity. Positioned in the middle of the realms, the human realm is considered the most fortunate of all possible rebirths. A precious human rebirth, Dal Jor in Tibetan. This is not because it contains the most pleasure, the Deva realm clearly surpasses it in that regard, but because it offers the perfect and unique balance of conditions for attaining enlightenment. A human rebirth is the result of a strong foundation of wholesome karma. Specifically the consistent practice of basic ethical conduct, sila, The human experience is a unique blend of pleasure and pain. Unlike the Deva realm, there is enough suffering, sickness, old age, death, disappointment, to motivate us to seek a path to liberation. Our happiness is fragile enough that we are not lulled into complacency. Unlike the lower realms, the suffering is not so overwhelming that it prevents us from being able to practice. We have enough leisure, comfort, and, most importantly, the intellectual capacity to understand and apply the teachings. The unique feature of the human mind is its capacity for moral reflection and wisdom. It is the only realm where the conditions are ideal for generating the resolve to renounce samsara, to cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path, and to achieve the ultimate goal of nirvana. This opportunity is considered incredibly rare. Buddhist texts use the simile of a blind sea turtle who surfaces for air only once every 100 years in a vast ocean where a single wooden yoke is floating. The chances of that turtle putting its head through the yoke are said to be greater than the chances of attaining a precious human rebirth. Therefore, to be born human is to be given an almost impossibly rare and precious gift. An opportunity that should not be wasted. Conclusion. Transcending the wheel. The 6 realms of existence, as depicted in the Bhava Chakra, form a complete and profound map of samsaric life, fueled by the 3 poisons at its hub and the law of karma. The wheel turns endlessly, carrying beings through cycles of pleasure and pain, happiness and agony, but the most profound understanding of this doctrine comes when we cease to see the realms as distant, future possibilities and begin to recognize them as immediate, present-day psychological states. In a single day, we cycle through the realms. A moment of intense, paranoid jealousy is a visit to the Asura realm. An hour spent in a state of blissful, meditative concentration is a taste of the Deva heavens. A flash of violent, destructive rage is a moment spent in the Naraka hell. The gnawing craving for our next fix, be it a substance, a possession, or a validation on social media, is the experience of a hungry ghost. The dull, instinctual complacency of watching television for hours on end is a visit to the animal realm. And the moment of clear-eyed, balanced reflection where we see our situation and have the capacity to choose a skillful response is the precious opportunity of the human mind. The Buddha, who is always depicted outside the wheel, is not pointing to a better realm within it. His finger is pointing away from the wheel altogether. The goal of the Buddhist path is not to accumulate enough good karma to secure a long and pleasant stay in the Deva realm, which is ultimately just a more comfortable prison cell. The goal is to achieve total liberation from the entire cycle. This liberation is nirvana, the extinguishing of the 3 poisons at the hub. When ignorance, greed, and hatred are completely uprooted from the mind, the production of binding karma ceases. The engine stops, and the wheel grinds to a halt. This is the end of suffering, the end of the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. The way to achieve this is the Noble Eightfold Path, the very path the Buddha himself walked. The wheel of life, therefore, is not a deterministic sentence to an eternity of suffering. It is a diagnosis. It is a compassionate and intricate map that shows us exactly where we are, how we got here, and the nature of the landscape around us. And in the figure of the Buddha standing outside it, it shows us that there is a way out. The 6 realms are the prison. Karma is the law of the prison. But the Dharma is the key that unlocks the door to true and lasting freedom.